being a yacht broker is being legally responsible. You are dealing with a client who is going to put millions of dollars in your hand or in your bank account and wants you to do the right thing. Not just do the right thing by being honest with him, but also make sure that he doesn't get in trouble with taxes, with registrations, with other legalities that we need to protect them from. I'm going to show you how to transfer skills from being a captain to a yacht broker. And you don't have to be a captain. If you have an interest in ships and how they operate, or you have a boat yourself, all of that will be valuable information for you. Core components of the training program, I will explain the program, which I hope to start first class to start December 1st. It'll be an online program that you can do at home, or you can come here and do it if you like. Certification, licenses, and professional development. Once you finish this course, you will be legally a Florida yacht broker with a license. You'll have a certification as a professional, which almost nobody in yacht brokerage has that. They just, well, I'll get into that in a little bit. I don't want to say anything wrong about anybody. Okay, this is the company that I have decided to come out of retirement for. Blue Ocean Yachts, Yachting. And the reason for that is because they're honest, they're very much interested in getting the details right, and as you can see, they do great display advertising, online advertising, social media is really good, and for me that's all a big bonus, because those things are necessary tools. So here we have a yacht brokerage, we have a yacht charter fleet management, we have yacht management, crew placement, crew training, and all done by wonderful, happy, smiling people, which makes a big difference. I'm a big proponent of positive energy. Positive energy sells. Negative energy destroys deals. And you're not going to fool the people we're dealing with. You're not going to fool them. They are going to tell. They will have an automatic barrier up, which they've had all their lives, to keep people with negative energy away from them. And if all of a sudden you approach them with that desperation or negative energy, their flags are going to go up and they're going to walk away, and that'll be the end of it. We don't want that to happen to you. Okay, who am I? Well, actually, somebody in this room seems to know me better than I do. He was telling me he idolized me as a kid. Of course, he didn't know me, that's why he liked me. No, I'm glad he's here. I was raised and worked in the commercial fishing industry in New Bedford and Boston, Massachusetts. My family's 5 generations of fishing people. My great-great-uncle was the last whaling captain in the United States. I grew up in the boredom and the chowder, to quote Paul Simon. Everything I did was on the docks. I learned right from wrong on the docks, which happens right away. Okay, it's not like you discuss it. It happens. I went to school. I studied as a therapist. I have a degree as a Gestalt therapist, and I continued on with counseling, finance, and management. I decided after working as a therapist that I had made a career mistake and that I had to get back to the ocean. And so I went back. Well, I started a lease company when I had finance education. And that lease company, I was lazy, and I thought, well, I could fill up the tranche that the bank gave me of $3 or $4 million faster if I had more expensive cars. And I'd have better quality clients. So I ended up with that philosophy, starting a leasing company that was leasing historic automobiles to people who wanted to go racing. That led me to get a 10-year contract to lease, finance, manage a historic automobile racing team competing in historic sports car Grand Prix automobile race events based in London, England. almost learned how to speak English while I was there. 2002, I returned to the U.S. in 1999, became a yacht broker with MarineMax. They weren't even MarineMax yet. They were Gulfwind Marine. And they hired me, and they immediately became MarineMax. Nothing to do with me, but they changed. They went from being a nice little kind of mom and pop store to being a huge corporation. In 2002, I took a box with all my stuff in it from MarineMax. I walked across the dock, opened an office on the other side of the dock, and started my own brokerage company. 2002, I became an employee broker and a franchise new yacht dealer. I sold Oceans. I was franchised for Ocean Yachts, Riviera Yachts, Albemarle Yachts, and I did a design and build contract with Revolta Yachts. And I highly recommend that you not become a boat dealer. If you want to just take a whole bunch of money and throw it in the water and never see it again, be my guest. Okay, 2016. Yeah, well, in 2002, we were the largest brokerage in Naples for quite a while. I trained a team of captains. Okay, and this is where this whole idea came. It started in 2002. I looked at the local market and I said, how can I best address the market? Naples is a boating community of non-boaters. Okay? So I had to give them everything. And there were captains that were doing that. Captains that were providing maintenance. Captains that were providing cleaning and maintaining the boats. They'd take them out, run the boats when the people would come down from up north. And so I thought, well, these captains seem to be in line for knowing what's going on in the market. So I went out and I got 5 of the best captains in Naples. They each maintained about 50 boats. And during that time, we ended up selling and maintaining 252 yachts in Naples, Florida. 2006, we went through 5 hurricanes, one right after the other. We didn't lose a boat. We lost one to a lightning strike. I would send my guys to every marina and have them tie down every boat in the marina. Even the guy that wants an insurance case doesn't tie his boat down. We tie his boat down. They probably still haven't forgiven me. But that's the boat that hits you. So we really covered all the bases. We did everything for them. We got them a slip, we got them insurance, we got them to join the yacht club if that's what they wanted. Total service. And the people we were dealing with were willing to pay whatever was necessary to get top quality service. And I think most people are willing to do that. Okay, in 2016, I left Naples, I sold everything, and I went to Key Largo, where all old brokers go. Brokers never die, they just got a little board in Key Largo. And I started a marine consulting company, Ocean Reef Marine Consulting. And I was specializing mostly in finance again. I was in the Keys. They used to, if you wanted to buy a boat, you'd walk in and say, I want to buy that boat. They said, fine, give us a deposit, go to your bank, get the money, and come back. No control. So I offered them an alternative to finance their clients. 2025, became managing broker with Blue Ocean Yachting team, sharing a vision of creating the most professional, comprehensive captain to broker online training. And that is what, when I first talked to Amy and she described the job of being a manager here, I said, I don't think so. That's not for me. And then Amy said, well, I like the idea of you training people to be a broker. Would you be willing to write a training program, online platform? I said, well, now you get my attention. Once I started doing that, I saw that 1, she needed a manager, and 2, that I would probably end up doing that stuff anyway if I didn't take the job. So here I am. Okay, Overview of yacht broker's responsibility. What's the role of a yacht broker? What does a yacht broker mainly do? Brokers facilitate yacht transactions by connecting buyers and sellers and managing negotiations. I've often said, if you take a buyer and a seller and put them in the same elevator, they'll probably beat each other up before they get to their floor. That's why we're in the middle. Law of agency. Now this is extremely important to brokers because we are subject to the law of agency. And what the law of agency says, that you have to do diligence to a client in the client's best interest. And you may even have fiduciary responsibility in that, which means you're holding their money and you're accounting for everything in this deal. And you have to be trusted to do that. Client expectations, again, honest, ethical representation, providing compliance with all applicable laws and regulations in a fiduciary capacity. What that means really is the laws change all the time, okay? We're hooked up with International Super Yacht Society, the International Yacht Brokers Association, Yacht Council, a number of other agencies that have active legal departments that define changes in tax laws, that keep us abreast of how to keep our clients out of trouble. So that's something important. A lot of people don't think that we should do that, but that's part of our responsibility. Okay, what is a yacht broker according to the state of Florida? A broker is a person who, for in expectation of compensation, sells, offers, or negotiate to sell, buy, offer, or negotiate to buy, solicits or obtain listings of, or negotiates the purchase, sale, or exchange of a yacht for another person. Okay? Who is covered? Who has to be covered by brokerage law? Anybody who sells a yacht that they don't own has to be a licensed broker. What's a yacht? Yacht means any vessel which is propelled by sail or machinery in the water which exceeds 32 feet in length and which weighs less than 300 gross tons. Anybody got boats more than 300 gross tons? No. You don't have to worry about that. Yeah. Over here you have the things that you have to do to comply with the state chapters. Chapter 326 of the legal code. Furnish proof of satisfactory to the division. This is where I put it number one. Furnish proof satisfactory to the division that he or she is of good moral character. How do you do that? You'll find out. Certify that he or she has never been convicted of a felony. Now there are cases where I know brokers that had felonies early in your life and had the files sealed, and they still got their license, but they had to tell the Department of Business and Professional Regulations up front. If you lie, you will never get your license. Demonstrates that he or she is a resident of the state, or that he or she conducts business in the state. So any business deals done on a boat over 32 feet in the state of Florida needs a licensed broker, unless you own the boat. If you own the boat, you don't need to do anything. It's the old checkbook syndrome here. You don't need to have a captain's license. You can run the biggest boat. All you need is a checkbook. And some people do it. Furnish full set of fingerprints taken within the last 6 months, immediately preceding the application. It goes to the FBI to see if you're wanted for anything. Hopefully you're not. Have a current license and has operated as a broker or salesperson without a license. In other words, if you've been operating without a license as a broker, they're not going to give you a broker's license. And I know some people that fell into that category as well. When I first started as a broker with MarineMax in 1999, one of the first things I did was organize a training session with the Department of Business and Professional Regulations with the head of the department at the time. His name was Bob Beaver. And Bob was a great guy. All right, now this is the entire brokerage law is 3 pages in addition to the real estate law. So it's very much what you know about real estate law will probably be the same on brokerage law. This is what they police. And believe me, they will be out in force during the boat show. They will be looking for violations. And here's what they look for. Make a substantial or intentional misrepresentation with respect to a transaction involving a yacht upon which any person has relied. Reliable information is a legal term that you need to become familiar with. 2, makes a false warranty with respect to a transaction involving a yacht of character likely influence, persuade, or induce any person with whom business is transacted. You lie to somebody, you tell them that you're going to go and wash their boat every week if they buy it. No, don't do that. Acts for both the buyer and the seller in a transaction involving a yacht without the knowledge and written consent of both parties. Very difficult transaction to do. You have to be dead honest with both sides about everything, or you are violating that law. Brian just went through that. He had 6 weeks of thrilling, nail-biting fun.
That was it.
He did. He nailed it, yeah. Okay. Co-mingles, this is important. Co-mingles the money or other property of his or her principal with his own, now what that means, if the tender goes sideways and ends up in a broker's backyard, which I don't know if that's ever happened, but that's illegal, okay? You are not providing fiduciary responsibility to the client. You are stealing his, even though nobody mentioned it, it's never mentioned in the contract, nobody even knows, you're still in violation of the law. It's going to get you to be honest and to be humble. Violates any law governing a transaction involving a yacht, including any provision related to the collection or payment of sales and use tax. Very big point with the state of Florida. Department of Revenue is tough. I mean, they're really, you can't negotiate with those people. I one time got audited by them and they said, oh, everything's fine, no problem. I said, you're not living up to your reputation. They said, what's that? I said, you're supposed to be real son of bitches. And they said, we are, if you lie. But we know you're telling the truth. And we're happy with what we found. And that's all I want. They want to be able to, everybody in this business wants to be able to trust you. They want to be able to rely on you. So it's hard to earn trust, it's easy to lose it. And you have to really kind of stay close to this law to not lose it. All right. Violates any law governing a transaction involving a yacht, including any provision related to the collection or payment of sales tax, use tax. Yeah, we covered that. The division may suspend or revoke the license of a broker or a salesperson who has, 1, procured a license for himself or herself or another by fraud. I told you, don't lie on the application. Misrepresentation, falsification, or deceit. Okay? You can tell them up front, I had this, when I was a kid, I got busted for drunk driving, and they sealed the records, or they haven't sealed the records, but I want to tell you about it. The law doesn't say they have to turn you down if you have a conviction. It says, number 1, they have to make sure you're of good moral character. That's the most important criteria for the state. And why would you want a Florida state license? Well, 70% of all yachts sold over 70 feet are sold in Fort Lauderdale, worldwide. What does a yacht broker do? First of all, you don't sit on a boat and look like that, smoking a cigar with a fedora on, foot up on a chair. That's not a yacht broker. That's a wannabe. Okay, represents a buyer or seller of a yacht as their agent. represents the client's best interest in an ethical, professional manner throughout the transaction from start to finish. Okay? You get the guy agreed on a price, the deal's going good, you have a surveyor come in, the surveyor doesn't give all the information because you got a friendly surveyor to do what you wanted him to do, and you know something about that boat that you don't disclose to the client. That's against the law. That's not ethical, that's not honest. The more ethical and honest that you can be, the better broker you're going to be, the higher quality client you're going to get. I was telling the people before, I talked to a guy one time, I thought he was a hairdresser, and I gave him some advice about a race car that he thought he wanted to buy. After I found out who he was the owner of Walmart. And that guy had done business with me, he's still a friend. Matter of fact, he bought the Denver Broncos and keeps inviting me out to the owner's box to watch a game. Who wants to go to Denver? Okay, this handsome young man is transferring skills from yacht captain to yacht broker. That was me when I started. That's the first boat I ever brokered. It was a 42 aft cabin Hatteras, heaven sent.
What year was that?
1999. I hired an actor to take that picture. Okay, this is where you guys are holding the aces in this whole thing. Relevant maritime experience and expertise. Most people that buy boats do not have maritime experience or expertise. They are relying on you to have that. Yacht operation knowledge. Understanding yacht operation helps captains manage vessels' performance and onboard systems effectively. Knows how to operate all the remotes and knows their location. We had a big problem on Brian's last deal because the surveyor couldn't find the remote to operate the pilot house air conditioning. So he made a big deal about pilot house air conditioning could not be tested. He didn't know where the remote was, and he didn't know how to use it. So you've got to follow him around, make sure that you show everything in the best light. Maintenance expertise, understanding of technical specifications. Expertise in the maintenance and technical savvy can determine what information lists, and specs troubleshoot before they accept it. You're getting ready to sell a boat. And the captain said, you know, cutlass bearing's starting to leak a little bit. What do? Cutlass bearing leaking is probably, if it's not leaking, the boat's not being used. So it's not an issue. Anything that you say to an owner, you're liable for. Anything that then I recommend, kind of demand that everybody has a survey done. If the guy says, no, I'm going to save the money, I don't want the survey, he's not helping you, he's not helping himself, he's not helping the seller. He's making a deal. He's leaving liability open for everyone. If he doesn't have a survey, you're responsible for everything you told him as a verbal contract. So you have a survey done. Now he's buying that boat based on that survey. Everything you said was just conversation. It's not reliable information. The survey is reliable information. So cover yourself that way, because there's always things wrong with a boat you don't see or happens like the day after the survey. Stuff like that happens. If it can happen, it will on a boat. I blew up an engine once on a sea-trial with a customer. I still trying to get him to sign the contract. He didn't take it. Ability to be present, make decisions based on reliable information. Captains have had to make on-the-spot decisions to keep the owners, passengers, crew, and everyone in their wake out of harm's way. We all know that that's part of your captain's license. You're responsible for everybody on a boat, and everybody behind you. But you guys have been in a position where you've had to make split decisions. Okay, I was doing a charter one time out of Naples, which is very unusual to begin with. But I was going down to Key West. And when I got into Florida Straits.
2, 1, action.
All right, understanding of yacht operation and maintenance. That is something that you guys have that no other brokers will have. Like I said, that brokers are trained not to have that stuff. But you are trained to be able to make those kind of decisions. You know, if you're in a hurricane, what are you gonna do? You've had to make those kind of decisions. Brokers don't make those kind of decisions. Well, dealer brokers. Okay. Let's see, core components of the training program. Okay. How do we get you from A, being somebody interested, to B, being somebody with a license and a job? Quite. Okay. Legal and regulatory requirements, contracts, understanding the contracts that you're presenting to your clients, clear language, don't try to get fancy and dance around the truth, it's right to the point. Maritime law governs sea-related transactions and cruise. Safeguard legal compliance in marine activities. Okay, so we're all subject to maritime law, we're all subject to contract law, and we're all subject to tax law, unfortunately. Broker regulations. Broker rules ensure ethical practice and protect clients and brokers in their dealings. And I found in my 25 years of dealing with the Department of Business and Professional Regulation, they really are interested in just getting the truth. That's their main concern. If they think you're truthful, they'll never bother you. If they don't think you're truthful, they send people out. There'll be people out at the boat show now working for the department investigation unit, and they're going to try to trip people up. They're purposely going to try to trip people up to break the brokerage law. So beware. Sales techniques and negotiation strategies. Very important. Effective sales methods. Now this is where my psychology training comes in. Training focuses on proven sale methods tailored for high-value clients, transactions to improve closing rates. High-value clients is a different sell than your average guy buying a 32-foot boat. Okay, it's a whole different mentality, and you're expected to have different skills to apply to that transaction. Client persuasion. Techniques to build trust and influence clients' buying decisions are emphasized to enhance client satisfaction. Again, what these people are looking for is somebody, you don't have to be the smartest broker, you don't have to know all the laws, but you better be the most honest person they know. Excuse me, I'm out of frame. But you better be the most honest person they know and trust. And that's what's going to get you the account. And once you have established that, that account's going to stay with you until you give them reason to not stay with you. Brian can tell you about people that are staying with brokers who aren't doing a job. But because the client trusts that broker, he's had the boat listed over a year with him, he's going to continue on with that broker because he trusts him. Even if he's not doing a job. Negotiation tactics. Strategies focus on win-win negotiations. Approaches to maximize deal outcomes and maintain strong relationships. You are not going to fool anybody about anything. Okay? The only person you ever fool by lying is yourself. Okay? These guys can tell when somebody's not being honest like that. Okay? These owners. They don't have time for it. Okay, if they catch you fluffing the truth, trying to make it sound better than it is, they're not gonna want to hear it. They're gonna want the direct truth from you. They want to be able to look at you and say, Brian, why is my boat doing this? And Brian's gonna say, well, I'm doing that because it's an old boat. You need to get a new boat. That's the problem. I mean, you get rid of this one. No, that's not what he's asking you. is asking you what's wrong with his boat. So yeah, be focused, be present, be where you are, because that's where the action is. It's the only place where the action is in your life, is where you are right now. Life happens a minute at a time, and if you're not in that minute, you miss it. Yacht listing, marketing, and networking. Now this is why I came here, because these people have perfected that. In today's high-tech world of social media and AI, you got some competition out there. You've got to present a good, professional-looking package. And if you look at any one of these handouts here, you can see that. Create compelling listings. Effective yacht listings highlight features to attract potential buyers and generate interest quickly. Okay? It has to go out. When a person pulls up a boat on Yacht World, say, okay? He's going to pull up, he's going to say he's looking for this type of boat. He's going to pull up, maybe a dozen boats are going to come up, okay? You have 3 seconds to get his attention for him to click on your boat before he goes to the next one. Okay, and then once he looks at the listing, you only have about 1.5 minutes to hook him. So you got to use the right bait. Utilizing market channels, leveraging multiple market platforms, enhancing visibility and reaches a broader audience. You know, this stuff is terrific, these handouts, and the owners are going to love it, but you're probably not going to stand on the dock handing these things out and find a buyer. Okay? You're going to find buyers by getting out into areas where they hang out. Boat shows, yacht clubs, you know, and don't go in there trying to sell them something. Go in there and let them get to know you as a person. Okay? Whenever you sell, the first thing you sell is yourself. When you meet a person, you look them in the eye, shake their hand, or greet them in the way you're comfortable in greeting them. In 5 minutes, they're going to decide whether they would ever do business with you or not. Just from the first 5 minutes of meeting you. Okay, you may not have the product they want or whatever, but they say, yeah, I can do business with this guy. I can read this guy. So you need to make that good first impression. So you're selling yourself first. And the best way to sell yourself is to be present and be aware and look the guy in the eye and be where he is. Instead of saying, no, forget that. You got to look at this book. You don't want to hear that. So it's important to build up relationships. And once you build a trust relationship, you got it for life. Unless you purposely screw it up, which some people do. The only, you know, what I always say, if you have to lie about what you're doing, you're probably not qualified to be doing it. And that's why I want to train you guys to be the most qualified brokers out there. When you tell somebody something, they're going to take it to the bank. They're going to believe it. Okay, certification, licensing, and professional development. Now we all know that it's required in the state of Florida to have a license to sell a boat, show a boat, talk about a boat, anything to do with a transaction. You need a broker's license in Florida. The course, of course, will get you your broker's license. And professional development, yes, our course is something you'll get a certificate in, which most people don't get any kind of training. Most people are trained by a dealer. And the dealer's training them primarily to sell all that fiberglass that the dealer already bought, that he needs to get rid of. So we're not going to do that. Okay? We're going to work for the client. Okay? Our asset is not the boat. Our asset is the client. Florida Yacht Broker Salesperson License, Certification in Professional Yacht Broker Studies. Mandatory certification. Certain certifications are legally required for yacht brokers to ensure compliance and professional standards. You're going to find those mostly in out-of-state sales. They're going to want you to have some sort of a certification that you're a yacht broker. We will give you that. I'm going to make a nice little certificate that you can hang on your wall. I might even put a picture of myself on there. Okay, recommended licenses. Additional licenses may be recommended to enhance credibility and client trust in yacht brokerage. And again, some states, California requires a separate license for California. Canada has a licensing program in some of the provinces. Europe has some licensing programs in some of the municipalities. So we have to be on top of that. We have to know that we're not violating any of those laws, that we are meeting the standards that they're setting. And that's a full-time job, to stay on top of that. And that's why we have attorneys in the International Yacht Brokers Association. That's all they do, is they define changes in the brokerage law, the tax law, and maritime law. If you're not hooked up with that, like I said, if you're just getting information from a dealer, you're not getting any of that information that I just described. All you're getting is how sales are going and what models they want to move and what's coming out next year. And that's not a broker. That's a boat dealer. Blue Ocean Yachting continuing education opportunities. I will continue to do workshops, provide interactive learning environment for brokers and update their skills and knowledge regularly. We're going to have, the first course is going to get you your license and get you actually working as a broker. Sorry. But then after that, we can do courses in maritime law, in contract law, in agency law, all kinds of things to make you better equipped for your job. Industry seminars. Seminars offer brokers insight into the latest market trends and regulatory updates from experts. Now, I used to go to all the Florida Yacht Brokers Association seminars when I was in Florida. Now it's the International Yacht Brokers Association, and they just do online stuff. They used to bring us all together once a year, give us a dinner, and try to teach us things. Networking events. Industry event facilitates networking, knowledge sharing, essential for brokers' professional growth. Now, Amy is an expert on that. Amy has all these different organizations that she's connected with that are not directly brokerage opportunities, but they have the people there that will be looking for brokerage eventually. So just to get your face out there, again, you're selling yourself first. You're selling the company second. You're selling the product third. The product is coincidental once you've established trust in yourself and in your company. Okay? You can have the best product in the world, but if you can't establish trust in yourself and the company, you're not going to make a deal with anybody. So I'm giving you guys the direct kind of meat on the bone kind of thing of what brokerage is. And what are the important points to follow. Effective networking, building strong relationships, professional toolbox, very important, okay? Building strong relationships, networking, essential success as a yacht broker. Ethical practices, very important. Maintaining ethical standards, ensure trust and credibility in professional dealings. When you start becoming unethical and doing things less than ethical, you have just stunted your growth and stopped your career. You should never have to do that. If you can't handle the situation you're in, you come to me. I'll be there, I'll work it with you. And I've dealt with some of the most sophisticated buyers in the world, some of the richest people in the world. I don't know why they deal with me, other than I'm a good looking guy. Other than that, I can't see why they do.
Definitely not.
Conclusion, navigating your transition successfully. Don't quit your day job. Okay? Combine brokerage with what you're already doing. Okay? Now that is something you're not going to find in the industry. Because if you want to go and get a broker's license from somebody, they're going to say, well, you got to come in 9 to 5 and I want you at the boat show and I want you here and you got to do this. We're not going to do that. Okay? You are going to keep your day job, keep doing what you're doing. We're going to add a level of professionalism on top. A level of professionalism that'll give you financial security. Transitioning careers allows yacht captains to apply their maritime experience in yacht brokerage effectively. Acquiring new skills. Successful brokerage requires new skills acquired through specialized training and certification programs. That's what we're here for. Also, understanding how to market a boat. Okay? Do you put it in Craigslist? It depends on what, if you got like a 12-foot Boston whale, yeah, put it in Craigslist. If you got a 131-foot yacht, I don't think the guy's going to be reading the Craigslist. So you got to direct your efforts. Thriving in brokerage, which all of you are expected to do. With commitment to learning, former captains can excel and build rewarding careers in yacht brokerage, and you guys already have a leg up on most people because you understand the side of yachting that boat dealers never get. Okay, boat dealers are worried about how much their inventory is, what they have to pay for insurance, what they're going to have to pay interest this month. I got to get that boat out of here. It's been here 180 days. It's got to go. And that's what they're thinking about. And that's what they should be thinking about. But we're not boat dealers. We're brokers. Okay. Don't worry, it won't be much longer. What the course offers. Okay? Personal mentorship and tutelage for 1 year. You get my personal cell phone to call anytime. Ask Brian. Anytime that you have a question. I am up for it. If it's a deal, a negotiation, I'm there. If you call and say you want to go out for a drink, probably not going to answer the phone. 10 guided video and text learning modules with chapter and tests. This is not a learning module, but it would be similar to. It'd be about an hour long. It's going to cover specific points, and there's going to be an open workbook test at the end, just to get you to understand what the important points to remember are. Official appointment with Blue Ocean Yachting as a licensed sales associate. You will become part of the team. You don't have to come into the office every day. Keep your day job, keep doing what you're doing, but you have the back-end support of all the functions that we do here in the office. All the functions that I do with the brokerage laws and contracts, all of those are in your toolbox. So you can walk on a boat and know that you have as much information to be as competitive as anybody in this business. And that's what I want you to feel. Okay, login credentials. Now this will kill you if you're trying to be an independent broker, okay? And Amy pays for this just because she likes us. She pays for all of this. Pipeline, CRM. We got a great new management system for clients where you're gonna keep track of your communications, keep track of who they are, what their family's like. All those things are gonna be built into it. And that'll be on your phone. You say, wait a minute, I saw that guy at a boat show a year ago. Oh yeah, he's the guy that, yeah. And the CRM is important because unless you're like me, I remember everything. You're gonna forget things. You're gonna talk to 100 people and then one guy's gonna come forward and say, hey, don't you remember you talked to me? 20 years ago in Fairhaven, don't you remember? All right, so you've got Pipe Drive CRM, Blue Ocean Yachting, which is a great website, Yachtco, Broker MLS, which is exclusive to brokers, Yacht World, Boat Sold Boat, which is great because you can do a history on every boat that's sold since they started recording sales. And what price it sold for, when, how much, to who, all that stuff. That's a good field. BUT and data are both valuation guides, which you can use to get your client to place a reasonable offer on a boat. Powerboat Guide. Now this is my ace in the hole. Everybody's gonna get this. This is a guide of all the boats that are made in the world, except for custom builds. I think they go up to about 80 feet. But all the boats, you get a lowdown, a paragraph on the company and how it started and what its intentions are, and you get every single model they make with specs that are forensic specs. You could take those to court. That's what surveyors use when they write up your report. They use those specs. You'll have that on your phone. Adobe, Avast, Zoom, Office, Outlook, Excel, all kinds of, just your usual business package. Professional online bio page. Check out mine. I made up all that stuff. 500 business cards, branded name tag. And shirt and hat. Shirt? I'm not into hats, but yeah. Okay, commissions. How do you make money here? Good question. Commissions from 50% to 70% on a graduated scale as you supposed to be professing your career. I didn't catch that one. Okay, you're going to start out as a salesperson at 50%. What that means is every brokerage deal has a contract when it's listed, whether it's with us or another brokerage, for 10% commission. Okay? If you are the seller of that boat and somebody brings you a buyer, you get 50% of that 10%. The buyer's broker gets 50% of that 10%. So when that 50% comes into this house that they pay us, Blue Ocean Yachting, you get 50% of that. I don't want to tell you what Ryan made, but that can turn into some big money. 60% you'll make when you get your broker's license, independent broker license, which is probably another course and 2 years away. Okay, but you have to be doing it for 2 years. And then 70% would be if you're a broker with what they call a book. If you have a book of clients already, okay, you're bringing those clients into this house. We're going to, give you as much. Nobody in the industry does any more than that.
That's a buddy of mine.
Oh, come on in.
That's Dylan.
Dylan!
Hi, Dylan. Welcome.
How are you?
Somebody.
Make yourself
See,
comfortable.
Ron.
Sorry, this is the presentation. Take a seat.
All right, let me finish up here. I'm almost done.
Danny.
Hold your breath for a minute. Okay. Tuition, including your license, is $2,500, which includes the year tutelage, working, getting the job here, the business cards, the license, the training, everything you need for that. Introductory special, and your license is $500 on its own. We're going to pay for that for you. The only thing you're going to have to pay for is a bond. You have to do that on your own. I pay $72 every 2 years. Not much. Introductory special, if anybody wants to sign up tonight. Now, we're probably not going to start till December 1st. You can get it for $19.95. That will give me incentive to get busy on this. I'm a great person for coming up with brilliant ideas and getting them all kind of circling me. But then actually taking them all and putting them in a palatable form, that's what Amy's for.
With my teeth.
First course schedule to start December 1st, 2005. Thank you all for sitting still long enough to hear what I had to say. Feel free to contact me with any questions you have. If you want to sign up, see Amy. She will give you a little form to sign. If you want to think about it, call me in a couple of days.